the Volkswagen ID.3 First Edition. Hey, so welcome to another car video. This time we're in the Volkswagen ID.3 First Edition. True British weather fashion. It's not good. It's about 9 degrees outside, lashing it down. It's cold and a little bit flooded around here as well, so we'll be taking it relatively easy. Really interested and excited to kind of have a go in this car. I liked the idea of the Volkswagen e-Golf, but it never, for me at least, had enough range. It always just seemed a little bit compromised, so it'd be interesting to see how this car does. So I've been driving it for a little bit, been stuck in traffic, just see if I can get up the information. I'm not a massive fan of this touchscreen interface, which we'll go through in a little bit, but right now, since I left, I've been getting about 22.6 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, and at 100% charge it was saying it had about 206 mile range, which I'm not quite sure if that's right or wrong. I need to check what the battery spec was of this edition, but it's a real nice, comfortable and smooth drive. I currently got it in sport mode. I'm going to try a different few modes as we go along. It feels very open and spacious in here. Good solid build quality. It does feel a bit cheap, plasticky, and a bit basic. And I'm not the biggest fan of some of the interior layout myself so far. We'll see how we get on as we go through, but I think whoever designed the i3 must have been the i3. See, I'm even saying it. The ID.3. I think they must have been a fan of the BMW i3. It's very similar in terms of its dash layout. You got the kind of main center dash over here, little kind of dash binnacle, and almost identical gear selector, or drive selector I guess we should call it. So we have forward for drive, forward again for B, which is increased regen. The regen is really light in this car, so I just put it back into drive, and you can definitely feel it frees itself up when it's in drive mode, but the regen is just so minimal. Let me just see, I don't know if there is supposed to be a one pedal driving option in this. I've got some car behind me, so I won't try it just yet, but let's see if they are quite behind me. But yeah, so I'm not so sure about that. There's lots of, well, actually there's no real buttons. Well, that's a lie. There are buttons, but they are all touch sensitive haptic weird things, and I mean everything. So all of the buttons on the steering wheel, you have to, it's kind of like a push clicky weird thing. It feels odd and uncomfortable. On the driver's side pillar here, to be able to adjust the wing mirrors and the front mirrors, the front windows and the rear windows, there's only two sets of buttons, and you press a rear button to kind of move those forwards and backwards and adjust heating of the wing mirrors and stuff. It's kind of weird. I'm just going to pull it in here for a second. Yeah, it's odd. So it says put it into reverse. No, backwards. There we go. So this car can go past and we can try a few things. Okay, here we go. Ooh. Not sure, I'm just getting used to the brakes, but they feel a little bit snatchy. But yeah, so take my foot off the accelerator and it just coasts. There's zero braking regen happening here. To put it into B mode. This car come past. No, it is a nice open interior, it just feels a bit cheaper, but then again, I put a note below what the list price is of the ID.3 first edition, and from an EV it's relatively cheap. I think it's really competing with something like the Nissan Leaf, but hopefully this has got better range than the Nissan Leaf would have. Right, so there's nothing behind me. I'm going to take my foot off the accelerator in B mode. Slowly slowing down. Okay, so it gets to it's about 3 miles an hour. Yeah, so it's not one pedal driving. Maybe there is something I can adjust in the main screen, which we'll look at in a moment, but yeah, not obvious. And in terms of performance, we'll have a little check again. It's really wet and rubbish, so not the best, most ideal conditions, but we'll do a quick look to 60 if we can in this little stretch of road. It's rear wheel drive, so wait a little bit, I think. It's not appropriate driving conditions. But yeah, a lot of room in the back for the size of the car. It's quite a high car, so you've got a large amount of headroom. I'm 5'10", but there's still a lot of headroom here. And my understanding is there's supposed to be as much room in here as you have in a Volkswagen Passat. You know, that's a pretty big car, so you know, Passat A4 kind of size in terms of internal kind of room, which is good. It is definitely built like a Volkswagen, obviously, as you'd expect. Nice clunks, nice feel, nice, yeah, just nicely put together. The driving assist is a little bit, how do I put it? It moans a lot. You take your hands off the steering wheel for a short period of time, it's not happy. If you I kind of just like then I was coming up to a roundabout, so I had to cross from one lane to another. It moans that you might be in the middle of the road, so obviously it's trying to keep you alive, but yeah, a little bit twitchy. And I don't know about the software version of this car. I know there were obviously some issues when the ID.3 first arrived on the shores, had some software update issues. Oh man, the flooding is terrible. But yeah, so far this car seems okay. The guy did say, here's a handbook and information for Volkswagen roadside assistance. We don't think you'll need it, but just in case you do. So that was quite funny. It feels very similar to the Leaf, again in terms of performance. I put a note below with what flooding, what the official specs are and what we got on that little kind of non-scientific test. Yeah, it is a nice car to drive. It's not, I don't know how it comes across on the camera, there's not a lot of road noise. It's a really wet, damp, rainy day, and it is pretty quiet in here, which is good. So we're going for another puddle again. Listen, I don't think you could hardly hear it. That was all up in the wheel arch as well, so some good sound ending in the wheel arches. Definitely a well put together car. Going back to some of the interior things in the middle, so there's a few things that I think are poorly thought out. And again, I know you've got automatic, you know, wipers and stuff like that, but I don't like the fact that the drive selector is kind of hidden away behind the steering wheel. Again, I know you're not using that all the time, but it is a bit hidden away. What is really odd, there's this little gap that you can just about get your hand in, just behind the instrument clusters and behind the indicator stalk, is again more haptic buttons, to turn on auto lights on or off, to turn your front and rear fog lights on and off, and to do your demisters. Again, you're not using those all the time, but it just seems a bit odd that you put that down there, and again it's this weird touchy plastic stuff. Why can't we just have a button and just have it in the middle or something down here, instead of having this? We've got a massive open console here. Why don't we have some buttons there? It just seems a bit odd to me. But yeah, there's a place to put your phone down here. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be charging. It doesn't seem to charge my iPhone 8 Plus. Then there's a really long kind of storage area. In there there's a couple of USB-C charging ports, which is pretty good. A couple of cup holders right down the front here, and a little bit of kind of fabric sleeve that you can store some stuff in. The glove box is pretty small. It's got some weird kind of twin compartmentalization thing that I'm not too sure about, and again, I don't know why companies do it. Black piano dash stuff on the doors and on the the front and the centre and driver's binnacles, which again they do look nice, but it's fingerprint-tastic. Already there's smudge marks and all sorts of stuff over here, but I quite like the floating design of the dashes and stuff. Again, very much like the i3 to me, which is a great car to mimic. But yeah, it's good. I'm not, again, this isn't the best weather conditions, so we're now averaging about 22.3 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. We've averaged about 22 miles per hour over 15 miles, so yeah. The seats are really comfortable in the car though, so it's a fabric-y kind of material, like a Alcantara kind of stuff on the seat bolsters. You've got these armrests that come down for the driver and the passenger. It's a bit like when you drive a Volkswagen Transporter. You haven't got, you know, a shared armrest. You've got little folded down ones, which I don't know, not sure about that. In some ways it seems a little bit odd, but it works. I think you just have them, do you even have them down? There's a little button that you can push on the side to lock them into different positions, but I don't know, I can't decide if I like the feel of them or not. At the lower speeds I can hear, you know, a hum from the car. I guess it sounds like an electrical hum. I'm not sure if it is. It can't be from the motor, because the motor's at the back and it definitely sounds like it's coming from the front. I think it's probably the vehicle audio system, but yeah, it's not obtrusive. Up here again we got options, again more haptic-y touch button, piano black plastic to turn interior lights on and off, which again I'm still not super sure about those. The wing mirrors are quite low down actually, but very big open visibility there in the A pillar, so you can definitely see what's going. And the car's actually quite big but deceptively small feeling from the inside, so you can't see the front of the car, but it does fall off quite quickly. There's no frunk storage in the ID.3, just you've got the little I don't know what you call it. It's obviously not an engine bay because there's no motor there, but there's you know, electrical equipment in the front. One thing that I'm not a big fan of, at least with the cars in drive, what's this guy just on the road for, is the brakes. The brakes aren't that confidence inspiring when you haven't got the regen. I don't know if it probably is regenning even when you are just using the brakes, but you feel that it feels like an older car. It doesn't feel like your brakes are power assisted. You feel like you really need to mash the pedal to get it to stop. It does stop quickly when you do it. It just feels like quite a lot of movement until the brakes really start to bite. If you're in the regen mode, so B mode, yeah, it's much better. So yeah, again, just something I'm sure you get used to, but a little bit disconcerting at first. Still struggling to get used to these brakes. They're just not confidence is worrying for me. Yeah, so in terms of the rest of the interior, the boot's a decent size. I can just about fit my medium dog crate in there, but one thing is there's quite a lip. So obviously when I put the dog crate in there, for example, I wouldn't really be able to open it very well, so you'd have to kind of have some raised support, so that lip, depending on what you want to use the boot for, will compromise things a little bit. But apart from that, there's some good space. There's not really much room for cable storage though, so there is a little bit that you can open up at the back that's got kind of the toolkit in and etc. You may be able to kind of pop the cables down in there. Other than that, it's just kind of hanging around in the boot. I don't have a domestic 3-pin charger in the vehicle. I'm not sure if they just give you that if you obviously when you buy it, but so I don't know how large that is. And as I mentioned already, there's no room in the front trunk. But yeah, interior though, plenty of room in the back, plenty of knee room. So I'm 5'10", and with the seat how I have it adjusted, there's plenty of room for me to get in and out, and it feels comfortable. There's one thing I did notice on these harder plastics, they've kind of done this kind of weird ribbed effect on the door panels, which I'm not quite sure about. I think they might catch dust and some crud a little bit, but overall I do think it's a really good car. And I think Volkswagen are going to sell a lot of them. I think it's much better than, it's what the e-Golf, it's what you would have hoped from the e-Golf. And I do like the exterior styling. I didn't think I liked it, but I think it's definitely very colour dependent on this car. I think in white it looks pretty good. I wouldn't have white personally. There's this kind of grey colour which is the standard colour, and I think that looks really nice. They had one of those in the showroom, so I think I'd probably go for the grey colour if I was to get one. But yeah, there's plenty of headroom. Yeah, this automatic lane keep thing, it's odd. It's on, I can keep on feeling it pulling me in the right direction. Yeah, it's weird. It is a really nice car. I'm just not sure aesthetically inside for me it's what I like, and naturally I'm drawn to compare it to what I'm used to. So my initial kind of comparison, as I mentioned earlier, is comparison to the Nissan Leaf, and in many ways things I don't like about the Nissan Leaf is I think the interior is not that modern. I think they could have done a better job. I think the second gen Leaf has got a less EV-ish type of interior than the first gen, whereas this is definitely very EV-esque interior. I definitely prefer the black kind of displays and stuff, even though I don't like the piano black than the white version. I don't know, I can't put my finger on it. It's just something that I don't know, it's not I don't like, just something I feel maybe they could have done a little bit better. But it is a great car. It feels great, it drives well. And the one thing I'm not sure if I'll be able to show you on video, only because obviously it's incredibly wet, is the turning circle. I guess because it's rear wheel drive and there's no front motor, the turning circle is amazing. You can really turn in a small bit of space. Not as obviously amazing as the Honda E, but still very impressive turning circle on the ID.3. On the main dash, you've basically got a couple of things that you can have. There's different views. So it's got this one view which is like, I guess, viewing some traffic in front of you, so that lane assistance piece. And then on the right hand side we've got the speedo and some information on the range, regen and throttle, and also the speed limit. You can press view again and it will then go into a triple layout. So the third bit is black though, unless you are unless you have the sat nav on. There's nothing to display there otherwise. I do like the play and pause buttons on the pedals though. That's kind of cool. And I didn't think I'd be see again, please drive in the centre. I'm not in the centre of the road. It's just a blooming bridge. I do like the windscreen wipers. I didn't think I would like this kind of fashion, but they actually work pretty damn well. So I'm messing around a little bit with the kind of touchscreen display setup. It's not super intuitive, but definitely after a little while you kind of work out kind of what's going on. I think that's most the same with any cars. There's quite a few different menu options that you have. See if we can do a nice turn the road here. Oh yeah, it's unfortunately a bit too wet to show you the turning circle, but I can confirm it's pretty damn good. But yeah, this whole system is pretty intuitive. Again, I'm not a massive fan of the kind of weird haptic feedback stuff with some of these buttons. I feel like the touch buttons aren't that great. I would just use the screen most of the time. But yeah, it's good. Another thing that's quite cool along the front, and it's a bit difficult for me to capture it in the light, but there's this kind of little different glows that happen along the front of the screen that's kind of white and green and stuff, I guess depending on different stuff that's happening. Oh, I didn't notice that before. When you move your hand closer to this screen, it senses it and brings up more information. So somehow there, I don't know how I did it, I moved from one screen to the other, even without touching it. Cool, that's kind of nifty. Again, something that I guess that you get used to over time if you have a little more of a play around with it. Yeah, but the more I'm driving, I definitely do like the driving feel and the dynamics of the ID.3. I think it performs well, and I think and again, I know it's not a Golf, but let's face it, it's kind of a Golf, isn't it? And I think it does the Golf justice. And yeah, you'll be happy with it. If you're thinking about buying a Golf, then definitely maybe think harder about buying the ID.3. Because yeah, they've done a good job. You can get a good position for what you want for your driving position, and you have good adjustments in the steering wheel, good brake adjustments and what have you, to get a really nice position where you want. And you got that kind of squared off base to the steering wheel as well, which makes it feel a little bit sporty. One thing that's not always quite clear on this control screen is sometimes what's on and what's off. So for me, when something's highlighted, that means it's on, and when it's not highlighted, it means it's off. And sometimes on this, you've got things that, like a radio button, which is, you know, one of these little buttons that you move from one side to the other, they highlight blue when they're on. Some of the large buttons, they highlight when they're off. So again, these are all things that can be fixed with software updates and what have you. And I'm sure Volkswagen will hopefully listen a little bit to people's feedback. But yeah, in general driving, this is a good car and the seats are comfortable. So one thing I've just realised after I've put the cameras away is there is regen in drive mode. Just I think it maybe wasn't kicking in as much because the battery was nearly at 100%. Now we're down at 80%. It does seem to be having more impressive regen when it's just in drive mode, but it seems it takes a bit longer to kick in, if that makes sense. So just something to be aware of. But yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, so my time with the ID.3 is drawing to an end, so just driving back to Volkswagen. So what do I think? What's my conclusionary thoughts? So I think, aside from the points that I've mentioned, that not a big fan of the black piano dash stuff, and there's not really too much you can do about that. Trying to wrap it all would just be kind of stupid, so you're just going to live with it. I'm not a big fan of some of these touch kind of buttons that are around different places and hard to get hold of, but you're not using those all the time, so again, wouldn't be showstoppers. But the good things about this car is it's nippy, it's got, you know, good performance. Again, it's not fast, like super fast, but it's not slow either. It performs well. The driving dynamics are really good. The suspension is very comfortable, so it's firm but not crashy, so you feel like you're in control of the car if you're trying to overtake and stuff. It's not wallowing and bobbing around everywhere. And it seems, again, even in this weather, what have we done? We've done about 30 miles so far. Yeah, I'll have to work it out, but again, we're averaging about 20.9 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So I'll have to work out what we could get from a full battery, which I'll kind of put down below. But I think it's really good. People always seem to talk in these car videos about, you know, is Volkswagen going to beat Tesla and stuff like that, and I don't think this is about, you know, beating anyone else. I don't think you can compare the ID.3 to a Model 3, for example. It's a very different type of car. There are, okay, I guess they are similar price points. I don't know. It's definitely you're going to buy the Tesla because you want the Tesla badge, but the Tesla is not as well built as this. So I think really you're going to be considering the ID.3 if you're someone that normally would have had a Golf or maybe an A3 or something like that. Then that would be something that you would consider. That was really strange, man. Holding onto a motorbike in a car. Yeah, so if you think about Golf or an Audi A3, check out the ID.3. It's not as kind of plush as an Audi, I don't think, but definitely something to consider. Again, perhaps you were thinking about a Kona or a Nissan Leaf. Again, different vehicles, but very, you know, similar price point, similar kind of performance, similar kind of range. So they're the kind of cars that I think you're going to be considering the ID.3 against. And it's just good that there's more electric vehicles for people to choose from. And yeah, I guess would I switch our Nissan Leaf to my wife's car for the ID.3? I don't know. I think this probably does drive better than the Leaf in some ways, but at the same time it's different. The Leaf is a bit more comfortable, but again is not sporty in any way, shape or form. I think this looks much better on the outside than the Leaf, but it's very similar in terms of space, internal space and stuff. In this is very similar, probably a little bit more spacious here inside the ID.3. So yeah, the camera's rattling, which is annoying. But yeah, yeah, I would definitely consider it. And yeah, I'm glad Volkswagen have released a good electric vehicle for people to consider. And yeah, I don't know if they still are, but obviously Volkswagen, yeah, one of the biggest vehicle manufacturers in the world, and it's really good to see that they've made such a great car with the ID.3. So definitely think about considering one of these. I just hope that Volkswagen do a little bit to improve some of the little quirks with the onboard kind of computer layouts and systems. Aside from that, it drives really, really well. Thanks for watching this video. A thumbs up would be really appreciated. If you're interested in other geek type videos, please consider subscribing to Spectrum Geeks. Why not also follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. And before you leave, why don't you check out one of these other videos that may be of interest. Thanks again for watching.